Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Shooting the Shit. We are back again and again and again every single time we take huge hiatuses because we're just so darn busy.
Yeah.
It's great, man.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy.
Yeah, it's your boys. It is
We're back in black.
Josh and Benya. We have been really quiet 2018, unfortunately. The last thing we uploaded was our old episode on Ready Player One. But yeah, I mean, 2018, we've said it before, hasn't been a particularly great year. There hasn't really been a lot that has really motivated us to go out and see movies.
It's been an actively bad year for like blockbuster movies.
Yeah, and honestly, there haven't been many movies that have built up a lot of buzz. I feel like last year there was every other week there was like this indie film or this.
Or at the very least, there was a movie like I want to go see this for my own personal interest.
And like I guess it's because we haven't rolled up to Oscar season yet.
But I mean, even then,
we're a couple months out from it. But even then, like every week there was a new amazing movie that was out. That when you saw it threw your whole year into perspective. There really hasn't been the only real movie that I feel has gotten a huge amount of buzz was Hereditary, and that movie sucked.
Oh no, there's a couple, but I think they've all sucked.
Yeah,
Infinity Wars. Mm-hmm. I hated it.
Hated it. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. That's a lie.
I'm not exaggerating. I fucking hated it. But anyways, what else? Annihilation. Everybody loved. And it was dumb.
I saw Annihilation in passing. Like it was in a car at like night after we had spent all day doing stuff. So I fell asleep. That visually it looked really nice from what I was able to pick up.
It's fucking dumb.
Annihilation was a big one though that I should see.
Yeah, definitely see it because it's kind of like Hereditary because. The way you described it to me is that, like, dude, everybody loves it, but it's, like, fucking dumb.
That's how I feel about
That's how I feel for a lot of movies. That's how I felt for Infinity Wars, too.
I guess Love, Simon. Did we?
I didn't see Love, Simon.
Oh, dude, we own Love, Simon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we can show you Love, Simon. I'll show you Love, Simon later.
Yeah.
Where we got another stack night. But you should definitely see Love, Simon before the year closes out. Because that's the other one that's probably, like, until we get to Oscar season.
Yeah.
Until we get to Oscar season and maybe we get more of these, like, bigger films. I think 2018 will be like Love, Simon's year.
Yeah.
Like, because it was such a wonderful film. But we're not talking about that because you haven't seen that.
Yeah. Well, for me, the big movie was Perfect Blue. That movie came out in 1997. Well, we got Into the Spider-Verse, which is going to be my number one movie of the year regardless.
I mean, dude, don't build up your reputation that hard.
I already have. Like it's already there.
It looks fantastic.
You can't bring me back down, Josh.
Yeah, okay, all right.
You can't bring me down.
We're definitely seeing that opening night. We're going to go. We're going to see that opening night.
Yeah, you know what's opening night is Christmas.
On Christmas Day?
Fuck
it. Like, I don't have... Fuck my family.
Yeah.
Like, whatever, man.
2018. Fuck my family.
I'm gonna put a little graphic. But okay, as long as we're talking about movies with a lot of buzz, the most recent big blockbuster film that has been doing impossibly well, both financially and critically, surprisingly, is Venom.
Venom.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, I know everybody's doing that, but I kind of had to.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way we couldn't. That closed his previous album, his previous garbage album. Like,
stop, man. Eminem needs to stop.
Yeah, so does this movie. But let's really get into that before we. Venom, starring Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock.
Yup.
For some inexplicable reason. Well, it's because I feel like. This movie it would have made more sense if this movie came out like a couple of years ago when Mad Max came out. Because I feel like Tom Hardy got a lot of great praise for that, and then he kind of did nothing for a bit, unless he did some indie stuff that I don't know of.
He's been in movies, but like not Mad Max level. Like they haven't been like marketed him.
Yeah,
Mad
they
Max
haven't
stuff.
like pushed him as like this new like remember him from Mad Max, like that kind of star.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It was just a pretty baffling choice for me. Oh, sorry, we're drinking stuff. We'll cut it out. But also, just in general, he didn't really bring it in this movie.
Which is weird because everybody said that he did.
Yeah, if this is him bringing it, I don't know, man. Maybe we're just assholes. It's possible.
Well, I mean, this has been a very shit year for superhero movies in particular.
Yeah.
And I know that, again, saying that Infinity War came out this year.
You also ruined Ant-Man and the Wasp for me.
Oh, yeah.
My girlfriend was furious about that.
She ruined it for her too?
No, she doesn't know. She's not one to have movies ruined for her.
Uh-huh.
But she has this insistence that, like, she has this insistence. She hears me. I know she does. So she's just waiting for me to finish the sentence. But she has this insistence that, like, I'm two different people when I watch movies with other people and I watch movies with you. That, like, when I watch movies with other people, I'm much nicer. But when I watch movies with you, I just have the free reign to be an absolute dick about it.
Well, we're on that same wavelength.
Yeah,
we're
dude.
like, if we see
Not all
him,
the time. I do find it is weird. I feel like I like things more often than you do, though.
yes. Well, it's just we have different, despite being friends and like having similar taste in movie, also have very different sensibilities.
Yeah.
So, what I'm looking in a movie and what you're looking for a movie are slightly different, and a lot of times it just happens where we have the same opinion.
I don't think we've encountered a movie that is in like, yo, I love, and I was like, I wasn't really into it yet. And, you know, but I'm sure it'll be there.
But I mean, we've always had different opinions on things, but it's never so drastic to where it's like I love it, and where you absolutely hate it.
It's true. I mean, you want to come Baby Driver?
Baby Driver? Oh no, because I definitely understand your perspective of Baby Driver. Oh, speaking of which, before we go back to Venom, we're watching Pay It Forward in a class one. It's a long story, but we're watching Pay It Forward, and it's very uncomfortable because Kevin Spacey's in it.
Oh yeah,
and he's having a very intimate relationship with a young boy, and he also stops a pedophile that isn't him from hurting the kid from The Sixth Sense.
Oh my God, what's his name? I feel like I
always forget his name.
I feel like I just read his name. But anyway, back to Venom. So, just a little bit of backstory before we get into it. I know we just said Tom Hardy wasn't very good in it.
Yeah.
But, so, from what I know, they wanted to make this Venom movie because Sony still has some, like, just like a remnants of that Spider-Man, like, trademark.
Yeah.
So, they were allowed to make a Venom movie in association with Marvel.
Uh-huh.
However, they were not allowed to depict Spider-Man in any way. Like, at all. So...
Yeah.
So the only thing that actually existed in this movie that even closely relates to the Spider-Man universe is that they vaguely mentioned the Daily Bugle. Mm-hmm. Like, but other than that, other than Eddie Brock himself and some of the villains, there is no relation to the Spider-Man universe whatsoever in this movie.
Yeah, and it would be fine if you want to do something like this, but why do you have to pick the character who is literally Nega Spider-Man?
That's something weird that I thought of because I don't know anything about comics.
I only know what I know from the 90s show that I watched on rerun.
Okay, but like as little as I knew, and just from the design, and I saw Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
Like
wait, only Spider-Man 3?
I mean, I saw all of them. Like I remember Spider-Man 3, which was before this movie, my only actual experience with Venom.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, like so I was never so big into comics, but as far as I can tell, like. The whole point was that like Venom like hated Spider-Man or some shit, right? Like he was like so like how much of that movie, the Sam Raimi movie, is Venom's origin story?
Like again, I don't know a lot about Venom either because I know a little bit more about the Spider-Man universe than you do, but I think it is just where Spider-Man had the black suit for a while. He didn't want it anymore, so he discarded it. Yeah. Then it found Eddie Brock.
Oh, okay. You know, I just realized, right? I feel really bad because we were just talking about feminism. Kylie knows a lot about the Spider-Man universe.
You want to bring her in, or
Kylie?
What?
Do you want to like give us a rundown of the Venom origin story real quick so we have something to work with?
I mean,
can you come over here?
How much am I allowed to nerd out?
I mean,
go ahead.
Go for it. As long as we're allowed to react snarkily.
Isn't that like your job?
I mean, yeah.
We don't get paid for it, but
yeah, that applies.
Isn't that like your hobby?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of our defining personality traits.
Actually, I consider it volunteer work. Write off on my taxes.
All right, well, come here and let us know.
Okay,
We're just for people no one watches, but just we're planning on recording twice tonight, and we're gonna have Kylie in the second one, but. Fuck it, like let's get her in this.
What did you want to know again?
Okay, we just want to know Venom's origin story.
So all the fancy terms and names because I'm scared of getting them wrong. There was a planet created by this guy. I know it's vague, but stay with me. For the symbiotes, right? The symbiotes were made to destroy the original creators of the entire universe. They're like the gods of the gods, like higher than Thor on the power level.
Wow.
The people who literally created the universe, the symbiotes, and their whole planet was created to eventually take them down.
Why?
I don't remember. I'm sure there was a reason. I'm now terrified I'm going to get any of this wrong.
I mean, we won't know, so.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
You're going to have, like, that one guy who gets on there is like, well, actually, your girlfriend's an idiot.
I got 3 different accounts, so I'm going to do that with
Okay.
Fast forward to
Venom.
this symbiote ending up on Earth.
Okay. It honestly just depends on which Spider-Man you're reading. How he gets here. Which part of it are you interested in?
So how much of the Sam Raimi version telling of it is true, where the symbiote first took control of Peter Parker, and then Peter Parker ditched it, and then found his way to Eddie Brock and devoted to defeat him because Peter Parker was the perfect host, but then he had to settle for Eddie Brock, because it's kind of what happened in Spider-Man 3, right?
Yeah.
Not exactly. So the thing that the symbiotes are is they're not looking for the reason that Venom is more aggressive or ugly than the black Spider-Man suit is not because Eddie Brock was a less desirable host. The symbiote bonds with the person that it bonds with, and it takes on some of their traits. So with Peter Parker, it was more compliant. With Eddie Brock, it was vicious. So
I love the little glasses adjust you just did there.
Thank
you.
Like, it wasn't like that, okay? They were sliding down my nose. But anyway, like, for example, there's one telling where Spider-Man, thinking that he's just found a special black Spider-Man suit that was left on the street or something, because Spider-Man's a dumbass, was like, I got it dirty, so now I gotta wash it. So he literally throws the symbiote and the washer and dryer. And the symbiote loves it. Venom decides that he feels loved and taken care of by Peter Parker, and since he's been bonded with Peter Parker long enough, he's able to, like, reciprocate those feelings and hold them, whereas with Eddie Brock, he's just a big pile of anger.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's actually nice.
So is that why when Spider-Man gets the black suit, he goes gets his fancy suit and starts dancing down the street, whereas Eddie Brock, since he's more aggressive, he takes Mary Jane and says, "My spider senses are tingling if you know what I'm talking about."
Oh my god! I mean, there is some validity to that both Peter Parker and Eddie Brock took on some of Venom's more neutral or devil may care type attitude. So Peter Parker became more confident, but also more callous, and Eddie Brock, who was already way too callous, became more towards the neutral. Yeah, so he calmed him down just a little bit, actually, because Eddie Brock went from being a sullen, depressed, annoying piece of shit to somebody with a purpose. And for a while, he was an evil person with a purpose, and he eventually just becomes an anti-hero when they have to defeat Carnage specifically.
Actually,
and then he has a bunch of kids.
I just remembered a fact about Venom that I want to ask you. How would you feel if in the sequel to this movie that we haven't started talking about yet, how would you feel if he got cancer and, like, became whatever he was supposed to come after?
Okay, so Venom literally becomes anti-Venom.
Is that what he's called?
Yes, and I would.
It's very not creative.
Is any comic book universe very creative?
It cured his cancer, Josh.
Okay, well, how do I say this? It would be way too much of a jump. Because there's a huge, long Venom timeline, the end of which is him becoming anti-Venom. Also, anti-Venom is definitively the strongest of all the symbiotes. So they would be doing a lot of shark jumping, and there'd be no other symbiote that could defeat him, therefore defeating any exploring symbiotes in the Venom universe.
So we're unlikely to see anti-Venom anytime soon.
I'm not gonna say that. I mean, they're dumbasses. They probably will.
I mean, they made Venom.
They made.
Oh yeah.
So like one of the big things with me is that like okay, so they made it seem like Riot was so much stronger than Venom. Is that true?
Not by a lot. Riot's probably the next step up after Venom.
Mm-hmm.
He's also a lot less intelligent.
Yeah, I think. Well, also like Riot got like cool shape-shifting powers. Why doesn't
He does have those in the comics.
Why doesn't Venom have that?
Each of the symbiotes has their own personality and how they choose to use their powers.
What's Venom's? That he's lazy?
Venom was mostly defined by having those long, sticky, vine-like movements.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That were very reminiscent of Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Wow, Venom really loses a lot when you don't attach Spider-Man to it.
Yeah.
Like that's my big takeaway. That was my point in figuring this out. Is that there's so much of Venom that just doesn't exist without Spider-Man. So the fact that they're making a movie without it, like
because for me, the only thing I really knew about Venom was that basically he only looks like a spider because of Spider-Man. But the way you describe it, pretty much everything about Venom is pretty much based on the fact that he had bonded with Peter Parker first.
Yeah. So him bonding with Eddie Brock first, and Eddie Brock being a mostly pretty chill dude, just kind of defeats a lot of the purpose.
Not necessarily. I actually like the way that this Venom movie set up Eddie Brock's character a lot better than the Spider-Man original trilogy, because the original trilogy, they just cut him out to be like a very cut and dry villain.
I mean, in comparison to like what he was supposed to be.
What he was supposed to be.
Yeah, in comics, because like
I guess my thing is that in this movie, Venom specifically calls Tom Hardy a loser, and I don't really see that. He's just a dumbass that made one very bad mistake. Not even mistake, just decision.
Yeah,
very bad decision
that defined his career for like the next 6 months.
Yeah, only 6 months.
Yeah, and Eddie Brock in the Spider-Man 3, you can very much see that he's like this loser journalist who's like, oh, I'm just gonna do the dumbest thing in like fucking Photoshop Spider-Man stealing something.
Oh my god, yeah.
So it's like I feel that other dude's much more pathetic.
I can see
anger
that. So did you want to stay for the whole thing, or like?
I mean, if that's all I'm needed for, I don't want to hijack this.
That was my intention to just have you explain the symbiotes. But if you have opinions on the Venom movie that you just really need to get on the internet.
See, I intentionally didn't do this because I know that I have a much more sympathetic view of the Venom movie than y'all, and it's gonna get ripped to shreds. So I will politely excuse myself.
All right, that's what you want. I'm sorry, we're callous dickbags.
Do you want me to stay?
I mean, I would love for you to stay, but if it's not something you want to do.
Yeah, I mean,
all right, I'm in this.
You can stay, but like that's the point that you have no obligation to have a movie that you did not hate to be shit on.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it's my new favorite movie, but
yeah. Okay. So we're in this. We're in this.
I'm gonna quote you. This is my new favorite movie.
Yes, that's exactly what I said.
Those words objectively left her mouth.
She also said that Coolsville sucks. I don't know if you've heard about this. Have you heard about this?
I did not. Oh my god.
Yeah.
When did she say that?
You don't remember?
Yeah.
She said like, I don't know why. Like I was just asking her, hey, what do you think of Coolsville? And she's like, I think Coolsville sucks.
Oh shit, dude. That's not. You heard it here, folks. Breaking news. Okay, so we have a third person now. So like 20 minutes in. That's just kind of the wacky adventures you can expect to shooting the shit, you know.
Yeah.
She's also gonna be in the next one. So if you're a sexist asshole who believes women can't talk about this stuff, you want to leave now, and never come back because she's frequent. But okay, now we can get.
And feel bad about yourself.
Yeah, definitely. You should absolutely feel bad about yourself.
Spend a couple of weeks thinking about taking a long look at your life and see maybe you might want to make some changes.
Yeah. Okay, so Venom the film.
Okay, so we haven't even. I don't know if you were hearing us, but we haven't actually started talking about Venom yet.
We've mentioned that Tom Hardy wasn't very good in it.
Yeah.
And just some of the history behind it. Now we have a little, and now we know just from kind of like a quick insight from someone who knows better, that a lot of what's Venom is lost without the association to Spider-Man. So honestly, the making a movie, it's kind of flawed from the get-go, in my opinion. But like, so what they ended up doing wasn't worth it. So let's begin. Eddie Brock has a super intense investigative journalism job on that is apparently popular enough that people recognize him in San Francisco. I don't know any investigative journalist that's that popular. You know what I mean? It's also silly. Like, what's his show about? Like,
he's a hard-hitting reporter, Josh.
Like, what does that mean? Like,
he's hard-hitting. He gets the facts.
But what is that? How is that a show?
He's basically like the male Megyn Kelly. Except Megyn Kelly doesn't get views anymore.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh!
Well, no, because also, like, they show that he's in the field. So, I like, what I want to know is what his show is about. Like, what
Josh,
is he doing?
So he goes around, he finds someone that's, like, questionable, and he hits them hard.
With the facts?
With the facts, yeah.
Isn't it like a Fairly Odd Parents gag where he has a book that just says the facts? No, that's the rules. I don't remember.
It's called The Rules, but it's a pretty massive plot point in that show.
Probably the best joke.
Where am I trying to think of? Where's that cartoon?
Sounds like a meme from the early 2000s.
Probably is actually. I don't know.
So he has a woman.
Mm-hmm.
The woman has no personality traits outside of that, and I don't remember her name. So she will be referred to as the woman throughout this whole thing.
We can give her a name.
I want to say it was something like Helen.
It was not. It was definitely not Helen.
I feel like it's always something like Helen.
You can Google it, but I don't like have.
I have Oreos in my throat.
Oh, okay. So unless what do you want to name her?
I feel like she was like the Great Value version of Pepper Potts.
I don't know who that is.
It's Iron Man's.
Let's call her
name.
Miyuki.
Miyuki?
Yeah.
Why?
The woman is now named Miyuki.
Because it's reverse whitewashing.
Yeah. We just made her Asian.
That's called cultural appropriation.
Do you want me to change it for Miyuki?
I mean,
Okay.
Me.
I think you're wasting a little bit of
Mimi.
time on
Mimi.
this.
Wait,
Mimi.
Mimi. All right.
Yeah, that's good.
Halfway point. Her name's Mimi now. So Mimi. This is what we do, okay? This is our show. We just kind
I
of.
mean, it is important to be called out and stuff like that.
Yeah. So yeah. Thank
So
you.
I appreciate it.
I wasn't super serious, but I'm glad that I got points for that.
So
somehow.
Mimi, the woman of the movie, is a lawyer. She does the lawyering.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, she receives a case. So that's another thing. Is that
she's technically a defense attorney?
we're through.
All right, I'm done.
By the way, so Kylie was in the Ready Player One episode. At the time of recording, we were not dating. As of now, we are dating and we live together.
Did that go up, by the way?
Yeah, the Ready Player One one's on. Have you not seen it?
No, I haven't listened to it. I didn't know you uploaded it.
I so told you.
No, you didn't.
We'll listen to that later.
Well, if you're subscribed to us, you would have seen it.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yes, that is up. So if you're an avid watcher and you saw the Ready Player One video, me and Kylie here were not dating, but now we are.
Which is very hilarious because in that video we described how you're angrily yelling at her in the lobby for
So here's the thing about
yes, blossoming romance.
Here's the thing about beginning of Venom. I am like studying journalism. So like a lot of this shit is immediately does not make any sense. So first off, the sheer coincidence that she was assigned a case for this company, like at the exact same time that he's asked to do a fluff piece about it. Right. First off, why is he getting asked to do fluff pieces?
Who else is hard-hitting reporter
who brings the facts?
Who brings nothing but the facts to do a fluff piece on a guy who's pretty iffy? Yeah, like either the editor made the choice to have him do it, or the dude who was having the fluff piece written on specifically asked this hard-hitting reporter who brings nothing but the facts.
And essentially, like, the company's already pretty famous anyway. So you said, like, he requested Eddie Brock because he was a famous investigative journalist. Like, people were gonna read about him anyway. So I don't know why they just didn't get a lower tier journalist to ask him the fluff piece questions. But whatever, they got the hard-hitting journalist who brings the facts to do this fluff piece, and he hates it. So
well, he very specifically says, "Why am I, the hard-hitting reporter who brings nothing but the facts, doing a fluff piece on this dude?" And he's like, "I don't know, just do it." Right?
But so then like Mimi gets an email with confidential shit about the case, which I don't think would happen if you have some very serious fucking like serious documents like that. that have confidential written on it, you fucking get the copy. You don't send that shit through the fucking cloud, which is what it is. Because you know, I really felt like getting a Mac throughout this movie.
It would be funny if she they just DM'd it on
Twitter. By the way, so Eddie Brock being an asshole, like fucking just snoops in and gets this like information without her consent. And the thing is, it's not technically unethical, like, cause like, I mean, it's wrong and iffy, but it's not technically unethical, because if you're a journalist doing like investigating and like research, like how you stumble upon your information is your business. All like that, just in doing that just ensures that you no longer, it's not illegal, you just no longer have a contact.
So wait, that doesn't count as like an invasion of privacy?
Not necessarily.
Like legally?
No, not technically.
So like if I went into your phone and found like incriminating evidence against you, obviously I would be pardoned because I'm turning into a criminal.
Yeah.
But technically under the law, would I not still be committing a crime?
You could go that route. It just probably wouldn't stand in court, especially if the thing you found was bigger than invasion of privacy.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, it wasn't technically unethical, but it was a douche thing to do, especially after Mimi told him to play nice, because her job was on the line. Like, so he did the thing. He asked the hard-hitting questions and brought the facts, but it didn't work this time.
Well, the thing that's funny is that he did it in like a very amateurish way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if he had, it very much felt like somebody posted some shit about this dude on Twitter, and he was like, "Oh, it says right here that like they're suing you for like some other, like, how you feel about that? That's some fucked up shit, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's up with that? Like, did you even read the fucking shit? It's not like you didn't read that shit. Probably just skimmed it."
So the fucking editor very rightfully is like, "Where'd you get your information?" And like, honestly, the woman was gonna get fired anyway, because they're gonna get fired anyway. He could have just straight up said where the sources was, and he honestly might have kept his job. Because most journalistic editors don't really care about that kind of stuff, because what matters is the scoop in the story. So how you get your information, I mean, it depends. It's different from editor to editor, but generally, like, most editors care just most about getting the truth out there. So if he had just said, "I got it from here, but this is real," he could have kept his job. Girl would have still gotten fired, and still would have broken up that engagement, but he would have kept his job. So he lied to the editor for no reason. And then got his ass fired rightfully, because as far as his editor was concerned, he was pulling questions out of his ass. And lost that contact forever. Like they were not, that company is no longer allowed to do pieces on that thing because no one will talk to them.
Yeah.
So that's a whole ass thing in journalism that you just don't want. Like, so Eddie Brock earned literally everything he got in the beginning, which kind of ruins the entire movie, because the crux of the movie is that I'm supposed to feel bad for him. Oh God. Sorry, there's a train.
That's a sound effect.
I included that.
Oh my God!
I'm probably just gonna cut that.
It's Venom. Venom is a train.
I'd read that comic.
Yeah. So as I was saying, like the whole,
it's gonna be there for a while, you know.
Yeah, I know. This train like fucking honks its horn like an asshole. Like he honks his horn like there's constantly people in front of it. Like there's a mob of like thousands of people in front of him, and he's hitting a bunch of them, and he's just desperately trying to do it. Yeah.
Oh, they move.
But yeah, the crux of this movie is that I was supposed to feel bad for Eddie Brock, and I didn't, because he earned everything that he got.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Like, because they were definitely painting him in a more sympathetic light than he deserved. But you can want somebody to make a comeback without thinking that they didn't deserve what they got in the first place.
Well, I understand that.
I can understand that. I just didn't feel that either.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Eddie Brock never had to actually deal with the weight of what he did or realize what he did was wrong. He just did it, and they're like, "Dude, the fuck's wrong with you?" And he's like, "There's nothing wrong with me. It's the system."
Yeah. Which could have been a really good angle, honestly, because they're trying to paint him as a villain, or at least an anti-hero. Mm-hmm. And what I was looking for in this was a villain or an anti-hero origin story. Mm-hmm. And what I got was a superhero origin story, and that's not
told
what's
from a perspective of a guy we're told isn't a very good guy, but never really shown.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like they were trying to do Deadpool, but like not.
But serious and bad. But okay, so so Eddie Brock has gotten everything he deserved. Then we got Jenna Fisher, I believe is her name. Is that her name? The woman, the doctor.
Let's call her something else.
No, that's not her name. That's the actress's name.
No, I can't remember
I can't remember her name either, but I love that actress.
Okay, we'll call her Jenny. Then.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Jenna Fisher. I'm gonna Google it. You talk.
Okay. Well, the main thing with Jenna Fisher is that
which is the name we're running with until I Google it. Oh shit.
Yeah. Okay, so she's this doctor in this company, right? And then basically, she's seeing some terrible shit that's happening in this company, especially.
Oh no, Jenna Fisher is the chick who plays Pam in The Office.
Okay, so Pam.
Yeah, that's definitely not her.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not her, but we're gonna call it Pam for now while he's googling it. Yeah. So Pam's like, oh my god, there's some terrible things that this dude's literally.
Jenny Slate.
Okay, so Jenny. So Jenny is basically. Okay, so the evil dude is like he's doing tests on humans with the symbiotes, but he's not actually doing tests. He's just like throwing random people in there and like letting them die for no reason.
Basically,
because that's how you do.
I
tests.
mean, he was gauging like what the symbiotes did to humans without really like explaining what he was trying to figure out.
Well, yeah, the thing is like what you're trying to figure out is what about specific people makes you want to bond.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, this you like take the vitals, but he's just fucking throwing people in there.
Yeah.
Like,
and then he could have had a chart. Well, he could have had a very simple Excel spreadsheet. That
actually,
was like,
Pam specifically said that he's just throwing in people and letting them die.
I mean, you can just be throwing in people and letting them die and have an Excel spreadsheet.
That is true. Like, subject A, dead. B, dead. C, dead.
Like, shit. What is the correlation?
You think that he probably had a list that was like, A was dead, was a woman, was black. B was dead, was a woman, but was Caucasian.
I'm telling you exactly what he had. He had like the spreadsheet of just the person and whether they died or not. And also on that same screen, he had like fucking 40 monologues ready to speak whenever he needed it. But my point about Pam from The Office.
This is Jenny Slate. She was Mona Lisa from Parks and Rec.
Okay, so Mona Lisa, the point I'm trying to make about Mona is that she needs a very hard-hitting reporter who brings nothing but the facts in order to bring this to light. But when she actually brings Eddie Brock in, he just like sort of dicks around for a little bit.
Yeah, before like
it's like, wait, so you're saying that all you need to do is to get pictures and videos of this shit, and instead of doing it yourself without bringing any suspicion, because you're part of the fucking procedure, so it won't be weird for you to take photos or anything. You hire crackhead Eddie Brock.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's never really adequately. You're right. It's never adequately explained why she needed Eddie Brock.
Nope, it was just gratuitously made no sense.
Yeah, cause she just could have done that because all he did in the end that related to that was he took pictures of his phone. He dicked around with Venom for a bit.
Like, oh yeah, he did on his phone. He even bring a good camera.
Yeah, at least he was a journalist. You think he'd have a good camera, but no, it just took literally as far as that.
If anything, he made things worse.
As far as that plot line is concerned, all that really happened is he took pictures on his phone and then he left the whole ass phone in the editor's office.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so for him to check it, and then he.
I don't think you understand, Josh. Yeah. If he had emailed that information to him, then that editor's wife, who was also a hard-hitting reporter, would have stolen that story.
And then I asked him questions with no fucking. Oh my god! I actually did not think of that. He had no discernible reason to bring Eddie Brock with her because she could have done that herself,
and it would not have been weird.
I also like to think that the editor walked in, saw the phone, and was like, I can't get in it. There's a password on it or whatever. Some bullshit like that. So we're just kind of skipping around because the movie, because like
I guess I'm gonna make the statement right now. This movie was boring, man.
Yes.
Like a large portion. The reason that it's hard to talk about for me is just that there's a large portion of it that's incredibly boring, sprinkled in with random stuff that's very stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't gonna watch this movie, but the only reason I did was because people were saying like half of the people were saying that it's really good and better than what people were saying, and the other half were saying that it's so bad that it's good. It's hilarious in how incompetent it is, and you need to go watch it. It's like, okay, regardless, I'm probably gonna be entertained.
Yeah.
But I wasn't.
Yeah, it was surprisingly boring, especially with that like long like motorcycle like car chase scene.
That was the worst part.
You're right. That was the worst part of the movie because it went on, and at that point we hadn't really established any stakes. Like it was just action for the sake of it, because there wasn't. The only thing we knew at that point was that Eddie Brock had something that the villain wanted, and that was it. We had no real connection to anyone. So it was just boring action. They hadn't established that it was Venom yet. They established that it was Venom after that. So like it was long and tedious and boring. It was stupid ass cat. But yeah. So especially since like another thing that like also upset me throughout the movie is that like they were running with the whole he was fighting without his will and there was a voice in his head. Like dude, we just saw Upgrade.
Yeah. And a lot of this movie was actually ruined for me by Upgrade.
Yeah, me too. Like it was literally all I could think about. I was like, oh man, it's kind of like Upgrade, but like not as cool.
Yeah, and the voice in his head isn't really as interesting.
Yeah.
And a major reason why this movie also wasn't good was because it was PG-13. And like, so the Venom was doing this thing where he was killing people indiscriminately, and Eddie Brock was reacting very harshly, like in Upgrade. But it's PG-13, so like we don't get to see the crazy stuff that's happening. We don't get to see all the blood and gore.
Yeah.
And with Upgrade, we do. So we get to react with the main character, and we also get to laugh when he's doing certain things. So.
Yeah, and he's like, oh no. Well, no. I also think the guy in Upgrade like played it up better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like because like the guy in Upgrade was very like, oh god, whoa, whoa, like he was clearly freaking out, while Tom Hardy was just kind of phoning it in, like he was like the guy from Upgrade was reacting. Tom Hardy was shooting one-liners, like it was like. The guy from Upgrade would be all like, would kill someone like, oh my god, oh no, oh no, oh no, and like Tom Hardy would like Venom would kill a guy. Tom Hardy's like, well that's smarts, or whoa, didn't mean for that to happen. You know, he was just shooting quips rather than reacting, so it was really impossible to relate.
Yeah. My favorite line is like Tom Hardy's like, oh my god, my leg was broken and now my leg is not broken.
Say it like that.
Yes.
Yeah, I forgot about that. He did lay there stupidly, like not very broken. I remember, he didn't look that bad, like from what I remember.
Like, dude, I mean, in Upgrade, he breaks a dude's arm and then shoots him with the gun that he had in his hand. Like that's some hardcore stuff right there, man. Hardcore shit.
A lot, like you're right that a lot of it was boring, and the stuff that wasn't boring was stupid.
Yeah.
Because I know the big thing that pissed me off was how they got Venom out of him just by playing the loud sound a little bit longer. So that kind of defeated the whole, like the stakes were gone. Like, oh, so you could have done it that easily? All you had to do was keep him in the MRI a little bit longer that first time. Like, that was dumb. And then it got out anyway. So it was literally just, it was almost pointless, and how little, like, it just wasted time.
Yeah, and then there was also that sexy Venom kiss scene.
Oh, yeah, that was stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
it made me want to watch the movie. Well, I'll give him that.
I just, also, everything to do with the fucking, like, with Mimi was infuriating, too. Because I know we talked about this before we decided to do this video. The boyfriend, Dan, was the best part of this movie.
Yeah, he's a good guy,
He was just a nice guy. We were bugging the shit out of people in the theater. Because every time Dan did something nice, I would turn to Kylie like, yo, I love Dan. Dan's a nice guy. And like every single time.
I would be much more interested in a sitcom version of Venom where it's just Dan and Eddie Brock and the woman and how they interact. Yeah. Like, just they're like weird, like I want season 1 to be like Dan and she's dating and he's like trying to move on. And then, like, he finally forgives her at the end of season 1. And then season 2, like, they have to come to terms with this. And then they start, like, a weird polyamorous relationship. And the 3 of them are together. And Dan's the only person holding this shit. Like, he's the one cleaning the house and picking up the kids and making dinner. Yeah. And Eddie Brock's just...
eating people.
I want to see, like, Dan's like, honey... Venom was scratching the couch again.
Venom's their dog?
Yeah. And it's like, Tom Hardy walks in, he's like, hey, Mimi. How's it going, Mimi? And it's like, Tom Hardy, is Venom scratching the couch again? And then Venom comes out like, we did not do that. I don't know what he...
Oh, my God. Well, because think of the time, like, because Dan was such a trooper throughout the whole thing. Think of the timeline that Dan experienced in this movie. So first off, ex-boyfriend shows up at the house out of nowhere with no warning.
Looking like a crack addict.
Yeah, looking like a crack addict. The next time he sees him, he's fucking eating live lobster out of a tank and being a fucking crackhead.
Yeah!
And despite all of that, Dan gave the motherfucker a free MRI. Mm-hmm. You know how expensive those fucking things are? Like, if you go into, like, get an MRI, that's, like, your fucking, like, life. Mm-hmm. Like, if you can't afford that shit. And he gave him one for, like, he just took him, like, don't worry, buddy, I got this. And there was no, like, afterwards you could pay him or anything. Dan gave his girlfriend's ex-fiance a free MRI. It's fucking, like...
Give him 2 free MRIs, didn't you?
2 free MRIs. Well, because he used the machine again to get, like...
To be fair, it does not cost Dan anything to use the MRI machine.
I mean, but he's costing, like, the fucking hospital.
But I guess the point is, like, he could have been a dick and been like, oh, by the way, out of a job crackhead who was also my girlfriend's ex-boyfriend, here's the bill.
He could have been like that, yeah. That might have helped the movie.
Well, I mean, it would have definitely made us want to see Eddie Brock with Mimi again.
Yeah, because at the end, they're like, Venom's all like, we're gonna get her back, and then he's like, no, we're not. Like, yeah, we are. And that would have been funny if we actually did want to see them get back together, but we don't, because Eddie Brock's done literally nothing for her.
I think it would have been funny if, like, Venom just straight up killed fucking Dan, and just like, well, I mean, he's out of the picture.
I actually am struggling to really talk about this movie, like, in order, because a lot of it was just boring. I'm trying to, like, because all you really can do is pick up inaccuracies, like the fact that Riot, the villain, which I hear apparently, like, upon leaving, that Carnage would have been a much better villain.
Well, he's gonna be in the next movie.
Oh, okay.
Did y'all not stay for the end credits?
You told me not to.
Oh, that's true. I did tell you not to.
Because I want to go into the Spider-Verse completely blind.
Yeah, because they have two.
Yeah, he made us leave the theater.
Well, you could have watched the first one.
I didn't know there was a first one. I thought that was it.
There's 2? Well, I guess it's a Marvel movie. There's got to be 2.
That's true. That was my bad. I'm sorry I made you. You didn't miss much. Basically,
YouTube.
So the Into the Spider-Verse one was literally just a clip from the movie.
Okay, well, yeah.
So I'm glad I told you to stay away from it.
Yeah.
I fucking loved it. But yeah, I'm glad I told you to stay away from it because you don't want any spoilers for the movie at this point. But basically, Eddie Brock just like walks into a prison, and he sees Woody Harrelson, the dude from Zombieland.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's got like this fucking carrot top wig on.
Oh God.
And he's just sitting in his cell, and he's like, I know you want me to I could turn off the creepy sociopath or creepy murderer if you want me to. He's like, yeah, I mean, that's fine, I don't mind. Mm-hmm. And he's like, listen, Eddie Brock, who I specifically asked to interview here, I'm going to get out of here. And when I do, it's going to be carnage.
Oh, God. That's so shit. Okay.
So, yeah, Carnage is going to be in the next movie. But to bring up your point is that I'm pretty sure this movie was just to set up a better movie coming down the line, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean that's what they do now, right? But okay, so the biggest problem I probably had with the movie, the biggest inconsistency in my opinion, was that they established like in the beginning that a symbiote escapes and takes control of an EMT, and you think that's Venom. That's eventually going to lead his way to the thing. But Venom's actually just a symbiote that it was already in San Francisco. So you learn that apparently that symbiote was Riot, who she takes control of that old lady, and then 6 months pass, and then they show he's still the old lady.
Yeah.
So what the fuck? Was that lady the perfect host? Like what? Like
I'm pretty sure he realized that he didn't have enough money to buy a plane ticket to get to America.
So he spent 6 months saving money.
Yeah.
Well, now I want to see a movie. Oh shit! Now I want to see a movie about Riot as an old lady working hard and saving money to eventually take a plane to America. Coming to America, starring Riot as symbiote. That was dumb. Not to mention that Riot also ruined what was actually the best part of the movie, which I think was the villain at the time. Because the villain was so just an eccentric dude who had a lot of monologues.
Yeah.
He was a charismatic, manipulative, inspirational speaker. And I thought that was really interesting to go against like what was Venom, which was essentially a brash, violent. Yeah, so I thought the movie would have to be smart and how they dealt with that. But Riot came along and just made him a brute. So he completely ruined anything at all that was interesting. Also, I heard a lot of apt comparisons. Like this Venom was a superhero movie from 2004.
Not even a very good one.
Yeah, not even,
like I love Daredevil. Motherfucker.
Yeah, that'll happen. That was our cat.
Kitty,
sorry.
no. We do
Cat
not
fell.
scratch the guests.
It scratched me.
It's somewhere,
like, the cat was falling down, grabbed onto my leg to stop him falling.
Definitely I kind of like if you use that, I can understand why people like it because if you put this movie next to like Elektra,
Dude, if you put it, have you seen Daredevil?
Put anything in.
Okay, so let me put it to you this way. Let me just set the stage for you. Jennifer Garner in Daredevil, she starts fighting Ben Affleck as what is his name?
Daredevil?
I forgot his real name though. Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
Who is a blind man. She is fighting a blind man in a park full of children.
Okay.
And then they start like legit fucking hand-to-hand combat, and then she fucking and like she looks at him like fucking fighting Matrix style, and doesn't think anything weird that this is a blind man.
Yeah.
Fucking doing very specific movements that only someone who can see can do.
So, and
and also a lot of Evanescence Evanescence songs in that.
Wake me up inside.
They play that one. So basically, Daredevil is fucking awesome, and like I would rather see that movie than this one.
Oh, okay.
Because it's that one's so bad it's good.
Okay. Venom is not.
No.
But my point was that it
No,
does...
you know what this is?
What?
I just remembered. This is the Incredible Hulk.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because except.
Oh no, I liked this way better than the Incredible Hulk.
Well, I can argue with that, but at the very least, we get to see. But it follows a lot of the same things where both characters are just running around for most of the movie doing nothing, and at the very end, the big bad villain comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then they just fight that, and that's it. They establish really quickly a conflict, and that's just it.
And at the very least, for the Incredible Hulk, that character has a history of like running around and fighting specifically the military.
Yeah.
So at the very least, even if it was boring, I understand why they went with that approach.
Mm-hmm.
But Venom shouldn't have done that.
I agree with you. What I was gonna say was it did that very classic like long dead trope of like having woman do a thing for sake of doing thing, but it didn't matter.
Didn't do anything at all.
Yeah, so it's the same like Gwen Stacy did it in the fight with Electro in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Mary Jane was the queen of doing nothing except for one thing that didn't matter.
Well, at the very least, the original Spider-Man was very intentionally like a cheesy 60s.
Yeah.
So using the damsel in distress makes sense, even though it's not necessarily the best thing they could have done.
Yeah.
Actually, I can go all day about Spider-Man. But I guess my point is that movie was also made in 2002.
Yeah. So like they have that scene where she turns up the noise, and like she's like, "Told you I could play dirty" or whatever. She said.
God, I hated that so much.
Yeah, and then like the symbiotes separate from the people. They get into a really quick fist fight before the symbiotes come back and they resume fighting.
Which Tom Hardy was getting his ass beat.
Yeah, he was getting his ass kicked by a nerd. Mr. fucking Mad Max.
He's got that nerd rage, dude.
So the girl left us. We could finally talk about our penises.
How big? How's your penis?
Dude, it's quite large. He's quite excellent at pleasing women, if I do say so myself.
I mean, that's what you say. I came back for that. You spreading alternative facts.
Hey, my boy here, he is a hard-hitting reporter, okay? And he brings nothing but the facts. So when he says that he has a large penis, I believe him.
Thank you so much, man. I'm glad we figured that out. But okay, so the final battle, really bad because like the CGI on Carnage and on Riot and Venom isn't very good.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it just looked like a bunch of splotches on screen, and it was so fast you can never really tell what anything was. Like it would show a quick establishing shot of what weapon Riot turned into. Spoiler: it was an axe every time. So that was it.
I have some bad news for you though.
What?
Carnage also has a history of using axes.
Oh my god! What makes Carnage stronger than Riot?
He's red.
We're not Skype more, but like,
okay, so I know less about Carnage than I do about Venom.
Yeah. Because
Venom has the TV show and also Spider-Man 3. The only thing I know about Carnage is from the PlayStation 1 video game Spider-Man.
Oh no.
In which he uses axes and also machine guns.
Oh, okay.
But he makes a machine gun.
I mean, I see he has like tentacle things, like I think too.
Yeah, but like actually, I have an artwork of Carnage where he's making the axe. So.
Oh. Okay, what makes Carnage stronger than them all?
Carnage is not stronger than them all.
Why is he the big famous one?
Because he's pretty.
Because he's red.
Did you hear him? Did you hear that?
Because he's red.
Yeah, like
that's what David said too.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Okay. Yeah. Like what was the question again?
Why is Carnage the big bad villain and supposedly stronger than them all or whatever? So I guess he's not stronger than all of them?
Well, I think he's stronger than Venom.
I mean, most of them are. I think they established
the cool thing about Carnage is that Norman Osborn and his grandson Normie Osborn.
Normie.
Look, leave him alone. It's a comic book name. They were referred to as the Red Goblin because they were part symbiote, part goblin.
Oh, okay.
Like symbiote took it. Yeah, it was cool, but that's not. So Carnage was actually the coolest evolution of Carnage in my opinion.
Did I ever tell you like my opinion? Because we never did an episode on Spider-Man: Homecoming, right?
Nope. Okay,
I don't know if I ever mentioned to you. I may have mentioned to you, but not on like recording. I have a pretty intense headcanon for Spider-Man: Homecoming, and if the Spider-Man Marvel, and if it doesn't come true, I'm never gonna watch a Spider-Man movie again. Yeah. Because the Vulture had a daughter who like Tom Holland was trying to bang, right? Yeah. And then he ended up imprisoning the father. Mm-hmm. So I swear to God, if we don't get Black Girl, Green Goblin, because this is the story, right? Uh-huh. Just locks up, defeats the dad. He didn't murder him because this is Marvel. This is the MCU, and people don't really get murdered unless Thanos is snapping.
Dude, in Spider-Man: Homecoming, that fucking bomb went off in an elevator, and nobody died.
Yeah, dude.
Do you want me to actually tell you why Carnage is more powerful than Venom?
I'm curious.
I would love to know.
But can I finish my thing first?
Oh, I thought you were done. Please
no,
continue.
So yeah, I mean, I guess I want Black Girl, Green Goblin. I guess that's really it.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Kind of. It sounded like you were finished.
I'll just say I'm glad we didn't do Spider-Man: Homecoming because it would have just been me talking for 3 hours straight on why Sam Raimi Spider-Man is better.
We need to do an episode just on Sam Raimi Spider-Man. We need to just do that.
I own the first two.
Yeah, we should do that. And Kylie
can be here to fact check you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, why is Carnage stronger than?
I was just say I don't care about the facts, even though I've been making very important. Making it very clearly known that hard-hitting facts.
Dude, what makes you think I care about the facts? Okay, but tell us, please.
Okay, so So the thing about symbiotes is they're designed to, their offspring are always supposed to be stronger than the previous symbiote. They're supposed to evolve and get stronger and stronger. So symbiote's children will always be stronger than the parent, which is why Carnage and the rest of Venom's children are inherently stronger than him.
Oh, so was Venom the first one?
Venom is not the first one, but he is one of the OG ones that came from the planet.
Oh.
Carnage was not born on the symbiote planet. He was not born on, I know that they're called the Clintar. I'm trying to look it up right now because if that was just the name of the planet, it was Clintar, or the name of the race. But anyway, but yeah, no, he's Venom's offspring, and so he's inherently stronger, and he's also bonded with a serial killer. So not only is he just inherently have more strength, he has absolutely no sense of inhibition or self-control.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Also, he's red.
Yeah. So we bonded with Carrot Top in the comics.
Who is a serial killer? Carrot Top is a serial killer.
It's gonna bother me if I can't remember the name of the frickin'...
So, any other bases we cover before we get into like the main thing of the movie? I think
the Celestials, the gods of the universe, are referred to as the Celestials, and Noel constructed all the planet. And there you go. There's some hard-hitting facts.
thanks for bringing that.
I wish that every single movie had a soundtrack where the rapper just says the name of the character very loudly, like Aquaman.
Aquaman.
I would jam to that.
He is an Aquaman.
You see the new costume they like gave him?
Oh yeah,
it's like
terrible.
actually orange, but it doesn't go with him whatsoever.
Well, the whole point of casting Jason Momoa as Aquaman was that he is the farthest thing away from what Aquaman looks like.
Yeah.
Which I don't like. But now that they're trying to bring this old costume in, it's even worse because he doesn't look like Aquaman.
Yeah. So either way, like, because it was before, like,
he looks like a WWE wrestler who's dressing up as Aquaman.
He does.
No, you know who he looks like? He looks like the guy in the first Spider-Man movie, Skull Crusher. Where like Spider-Man's like, hey, who like?
Oh, the guy he's homophobic to?
Yeah, who made that Leotard, the boyfriend?
He's a wrestler. That's Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah, he looks like Macho Man Randy Savage in that movie. And then where Macho Man Randy Savage like,
that's
actually,
Aquaman's new origin story.
Yeah, he had retired. Like he had been long retired from wrestling by the time the movie came out. So it was something interesting that I read. Like his finisher was the elbow drop, and he hit an elbow like in the movie. That was the last elbow drop he ever actually did. Because like,
I'm so sad.
Yes, he retired from wrestling and he did that movie and then he died like a little bit after.
Oh wow, I didn't know he was dead.
Yeah, Macho Man passed away a couple years ago.
That's unfortunate.
It is. He was a lovely. I mean, I don't know if he was a lovely man, but he was an icon in wrestling, but he was also really famous in the '80s, which is not a good sign.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, nothing's come out yet, so
yeah. I mean, I'm sure if I googled, he was a heavy drinker. I don't know. There is a rumor, if we're getting into it. There is a rumor. Honey, I want you to stay for this one.
I wanted.
Okay, like there is a rumor. It was never proven. All we have is some like rumors and like a little incident that is possible that one of the reasons Randy Savage was left was because he slept with Stephanie McMahon.
Oh wow.
Which is Vince McMahon's daughter, and at the time Stephanie McMahon would have been 17.
Jeez.
Yeah. So we have literally no proof of that. But what we do have is that when WCW went under, literally every major star from that promotion that defected originally from the WWF managed to come back, except for Randy Savage.
Damn.
And he wasn't put into the Hall of Fame until after he passed away.
Damn.
Yeah, so anyway, enough about Randy Savage. So if there's no other points about the movie that want to be made, we can get into the big thing, which is why people like the movie in general, how it's wrong. So are there any other stupid plot points we missed or anything?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Kylie?
I mean, I'm sure there are some, but like, not one.
So the big thing that people loved about this movie was the interaction between Eddie Brock and Venom. Like it's actually like taken like as someone who's not a frequent user, but Kylie can atone to it that like fan art about them talking has overtaken Tumblr.
Oh yeah, as the official Tumblr person of the group.
Yeah.
It's like a shitty live action Death Note, except there's already a shitty live action Death Note.
Yeah.
So like what people love is the interaction between Eddie Brock and Venom, and like how they think it was cute and it was relatable, but it wasn't. Like they didn't interact that much, and when they did, it was just one-liners and not very good unoriginal jokes that we've heard a million times from this story. Not to mention that he's supposed to be an anti-hero. They never really established any of that, other than like,
the only innocent people who kill are police, and like they deserve it. I guess I should make the statement that I believe that not all police officers are bad, and I was clearly making a joke.
Yes.
The eye roll was so intense there. I feel like the front of your eyes were like rubbing against the back of your brain.
You know, like this.
Oh, that's gross.
So
I remember when I learned how to do that, I was just like, can I do it? Like throw my head back and it went back one time.
There was exactly 2 moments of anti-heroism in this entire movie. There was when they randomly decide to save the world because suddenly the world's at stake for like no reason at all.
Yeah, because this movie is also Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
We'll get into that one.
So
we'll do that eventually.
Someday. So like he just kind of decides like, you know what, I guess I kind of like it here, which is a very anti-hero thing to say.
Well, something that Venom mentions is that like, oh, I'm kind of a loser on my planet. I was like, wow, that would have been interesting to explore.
Yeah,
but they didn't
from the beginning.
Well,
like, okay,
who's gonna admit to the like tiny human that's body it's manipulating that you're kind of lame on your own planet?
I mean, well, it's like that.
He did
when he had to.
I guess that's true.
I feel like it was well timed. They just should have explored it after he admitted it and not before.
It should.
Well, I think if they had made Venom a lot more corny,
yeah,
that we could see that when he mentions that, oh, I'm kind of a loser. It's like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Well, a really good moment is
or
if
like,
they had more than one symbiote, like a group of them, like everyone that crash landed on the planet, like take over a different human and all gang up on Venom. We could very see like a schoolyard bully type situation where Venom is clearly the smallest and the loser of the group.
Well, I think it would have been funny if Venom's like, yes, I am Venom, and then like Rye comes in like, oh my god, like, oh hey, how's it going? I'm right, like talking normally. So it's like, okay, he's literally just like this weird, creepy dude.
Because he mentioned he mentioned that he's a loser, and it would have been nice if we heard that from the beginning to contrast the fact that they were both losers. But like, not only do they not do a very good job of establishing Eddie Brock as a loser, because like it's only been 6 months, he still had an apartment, he was fine. Like he got his job back relatively easy. So
I mean, if you define not being a loser by being able to make rent,
hey, he had He had a very decent sized apartment for living alone.
Yeah, but he was flipping through bills like in that way
that's true.
Movie people flip through bills.
In a way of people who don't pay them.
I frequently sit down and just
look at them and throw them. Yeah, this is my symbolism for not paying them. But I don't know. I just think you're right. I think you said they didn't do a good enough job establishing that he was a loser, and they did no job establishing Venom was a loser because they show him killing cops like it's nothing.
Yeah, and Mimi still very much. It's very obvious that she's still attracted to Eddie Brock at the end of the movie, somewhat.
Yeah.
So I guess the question so it's like, okay, he's still not a loser even when he's losing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess the question I have to ask now is, why do good girls like bad guys? I've had this question for a real long time.
Shut up. So, like, it would have been nice if Venom was established as a loser from the beginning, but we've seen him be a badass, and he improves, but we've seen him be a badass throughout the entire movie. Then at the end, like, by the way, I guess I'm kind of a loser in this other place, and I can't really fight Riot because I'm kind of weak. And this came out literally right before the climax, so there's no build up to it. There's no redemption. There's no like, oh man, they did it in the end, because they sprung it on us literally like 5 minutes before it happened.
And I guess there's this other conversation that he has with Eddie Brock at the end where he's stating like, okay, you can only kill bad people.
Yeah, that was
you can't kill good people. You can only kill bad people.
Anti-heroism.
And it's just like, I feel like you should have just established that at the very beginning.
Yeah, a lot of what happened at the end should have happened at the beginning. So
or at least in the second act, at the beginning of the second act.
That whole you can eat bad people should have been the crutch of their relationship.
Yeah, he could have been in the store, and then Venom tries to eat the lady. He's like, "No, spit her out." Then he's like, "You can't eat normal people. You only have to eat bad guys." And then the dude could walk in "See that guy you could eat."
Yeah, that would have been interesting, and that would have given them a relationship and established them as equals when there was never really that.
Well, they weren't supposed to be equals. They did a really good job, I think, or maybe I'm just weak and scared of things, which is true. But they did a really good job of establishing this man has a giant parasite in his body that could choose to destroy him and leave and go on to something better anytime if it so chose to. And the idea of him actually living inside him, I don't know, it's terrifying. And so if they had been just yeah, but also he's kind of a lame parasite, it would have completely killed that vibe that they were going for.
Well, there's actually another property that does that well called Parasite, in which this dude has a parasite.
I've seen that anime. It's really good.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention that anime also does the thing that Upgrade does, where this parasite is very smart and very doesn't really understand human emotion. So when he does something, so when the person's freaking out, you can't be doing shit like this. It's interesting to watch.
Yeah, I love Parasite.
The hand makes a giant penis for a second. The parasite turns into a penis for a second, and the dude's you can't be fucking doing this shit.
you gotta not do that. It's what I was going to say. Where I was going with the whole thing is that I got distracted talking about Parasite. God damn it, Penny.
We're talking about how it's very scary that the parasite's inside you.
Yeah, I feel that would have undercut all of the work they did to build that up. At the end, what would have been a really good, and I think what they were trying for, what would have been a really good moment is if Venom was like, "Hey, you think I'm big and bad and scary and I can ruin your life? There are thousands of things just like me out there, and I'm the weakest one." That's terrifying.
True. Yeah. I do have a couple of questions though. The first thing is that was Venom actually killing Tom Hardy? Because they mentioned that he's stealing your life.
I mean, they were showing that the symbiotes can kill the human beings, but I think they established that Eddie Brock lived. So he wasn't really killing him.
Well, they never explain it.
But when he goes to the hospital, he's saying "Are you killing me?"
Yeah, he's because the doctor points out that he's getting slowly eaten alive, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And Venom's like, "No, they don't understand. They don't understand." And then there's this fight.
So it's you never really So
in canon, what it is if the parasite has nothing to feed off of, it's forced to feed off the host, which is why Eddie Brock has to eat so much.
Oh.
So the reason it's starting to feed off of him is Eddie Brock hasn't eaten for that entire act.
That's actually very interesting. That's something, if they had explained that, I would have been very okay with.
Yeah.
But they didn't. It was just you're not sure if he's just killing Eddie Brock because he's a dick.
Venom very really didn't have a choice if he wanted to live, but to feed off Eddie Brock.
That's the thing that you said in the movie they weren't equals, but I think what would have made it interesting is if they were, because that's what it builds a relationship. They needed each other because there wasn't going to be a better host for Venom besides Eddie Brock.
You could say that they have a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing they don't point back is and I think they show it a few times, but they don't explicitly explain it, is that Venom also gives him insane regenerative powers. So Venom can literally eat him and then regrow him that day.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did see that Eddie Brock's leg was broken, and then it wasn't broken anymore.
Fair.
That
was one time too. It was just
honestly, it didn't really look like his leg was all that broken though. I feel if we had seen blood spurting out,
they didn't position him in a good enough way to establish that he was broken. But
he just said it was broken, and then he said it's not broken.
Overall, I guess I want to point out also
with the facts,
one thing that was funny was when that little girl in the beginning of the movie tried to ask a question.
Oh my gosh.
She's like, "Yes, this little girl has questions. That makes her smart." and then proceeds to not answer her question.
I like how he's very specific. He said, "Okay, this other person will answer your question," and then the others, like, they made it seem like, "Okay, we don't have a question, but like we still have to acknowledge the fact that she asked one." So it's like, all right, she asked it canonically off screen.
I really feel like, because we've passed an hour.
Huh?
But like, it really feels like we haven't talked for an hour. You know what
because
I mean?
we didn't really talk about, because so much of Venom's just nothing.
Yeah,
like, doesn't feel like we talked about the beginning, we talked about the end.
Yeah, there was nothing in the middle. There was basically nothing, other than him digging around with Venom, without them even really revealing that it was Venom. Because they revealed it was Venom towards like the end of the middle of the second act.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because like that long ass car thing, he still didn't know that it was Venom, right?
Yeah, it wasn't until the end of like, it was like after the midpoint was him learning that it was Venom, which is like way deep in. Like,
I also like, I guess I should mention, I like how the last shot of the movie is in the trailer.
Oh yeah,
that was nice.
Yeah, like a turd flowing in the wind. That was the big line people were making fun of. Like a turd.
I think that line would have never gained traction if they hadn't put it in the trailer. Like, in the context of the movie, it's bad, but it's not that bad.
I will rip your arms off and your legs, and then I will eat your head, and you will be rolling down the street like this little thing, like a turd in the wind.
I like to think that's Venom not quite getting human speech yet. So he's just like, this is gonna sound intimidating, and then he fails.
Yeah.
And I wanted a moment where Eddie Brock was just like, dude, no, stop.
And honestly, I think the biggest disappointment is he kind of took over the dog for no reason.
Oh yeah.
Because like he just took over the dog and then took over Mimi, which all he needed to do was just take over Mimi. I don't know why they put the dog in. It would have been an infinitely better joke and not sexist and stupid if they had like Eddie Brock had just fucking like did that weird shit, and then like he turns around, there's just a fucking puppy on the ground, and it just and then attacks him, and then he's suddenly back.
That also reminds me of that anime Parasite,
okay,
where the parasite takes over a dog. And it's genuinely horrifying, and that would have been great to see.
Yeah,
like, that's what makes it so also terrifying and great at the same time.
But
like,
instead,
it could literally take over anything and make it into this monster.
Instead, we got fetishy, sexy Venom for no reason other than like perv fan service.
Hey, I mean, I would watch it if it was like a different thing, you know.
I'm saying I'm not against it, you know. But yeah, like, man, why is it that when he controls a guy, he's a big monster, but when he controls a woman, he's all fucking decked out with the huge boobs and the fucking hourglass figure?
Why does he conform to Spider-Man the way he conforms to Spider-Man?
I mean,
he could have given Spider-Man breasts.
He could have. The whole point of the symbiote is it conforms to the way that the host thinks that they are most intimidating.
So is Mimi a thought?
Basically, yeah, that's what that said. So, like, he conforms to be Spider-Man's suit because Spider-Man fought best and identified in that suit. And he became a giant monster because first of all, that's sort of how Eddie Brock saw himself after he destroyed her reputation. And second, because Eddie Brock wanted to be a giant, scary douchebag. And so did Venom, because that would be fun.
So it's like, wait, I just realized something. So symbiote is something that takes on the characteristics of the host and amplifies them.
Yeah. And
depending on how they act, it sort of shapes around them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the mask.
Yeah.
Dude, it would be.
I mean, I guess if we're going, I don't think Eddie Brock established enough murderous intent for that to really work.
Yeah, because like in the mask, like he's like this very corny, funny dude, right? Mm-hmm. So when like he puts the mask on, that's what's amplified. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, wouldn't it be hilarious if like the fucking symbiote took over Venom and just like smoking?
I just feel like there wasn't that much of a difference between Riot and Venom. To like for that like symbiote takes control of like the traits, because also
you have to realize it's also not that direct. It has to take an unusually compassionate person to tame a symbiote, aka Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Which is why you only see Black Spider-Man, and then all the other symbiotes look crazy. Because the other symbiotes took control of either neutral to bad people. It took a very good person to tame the symbiote. So in their raw states, most symbiotes are chaotic neutral or chaotic evil.
But that's the thing. Eddie Brock wasn't a bad dude. Like he made one.
He was a very neutral dude. So he had no real incentive to tame or calm down or do anything
but he
to
was
the
like
symbiote.
he was an investigative journalist who was always seeking the truth, or however he said it.
He brings nothing but hard facts. He's a hard-hitting journalist who brings nothing but the facts.
Yeah, really, but the facts. Like he was consistently had his eye on justice, because all he wanted to do was take down the shitty company, to the point where he was getting fired because of his ways. So I think that the movie overall had Eddie Brock be this really good guy who made one mistake, and we're supposed to believe that made him a bad guy.
They're also heavily implied about what he did when he was in New York. They didn't explicitly say it because they can't, but they did imply he, plagiarized or did something, whatever, in this universe was the Eddie Brock story in New York. Because this one was set in San Francisco.
Well, all they said was that something went down in New York and he had to move to San Francisco. It's very obvious. I thought, for me, I read it as his hard-hitting journalism that brought nothing but the facts offended somebody, and they threw him out. I mean, that's how I saw it.
I just inferred, because that's all we're doing.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't ever explicitly said, so it's just us shooting the shit.
And credits.
But I inferred that he did the same thing where he was too quick to fucking ask hard questions with no evidence to back it up or anything like that, or fucking rubbed a lot of sources the wrong way, as he's shown himself to do.
I mean, for all we know, he could have just banged the editor's wife.
He could have done that.
And this dude's okay. He doesn't care because he's not married.
Yeah.
I feel like the implication very much was, since they're trying to set this in the Spider-Man universe, even though they can't use Spider-Man.
So he banged Jameson's wife?
He banged Jameson's wife.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I mean
no, it's okay. I'm trying to imagine J. Jonah Jameson's wife and Eddie Brock having sex, and I was so off-put by the mental image that I slunk my way out of that.
Probably not.
Yeah, well, I mean, he does in the original trilogy.
I like the idea of Jameson's wife looking exactly like Jameson and talking the exact same way, but with long hair. It's like, honey, do you know where my suit is? Like, yes, dear.
Do you not remember in all of the original trilogy, she was constantly calling him on his office phone?
Oh, yeah.
And he would be like, don't get that, it's too expensive. Like, that was his only line on the phone.
I'm pretty sure Brock was banging fucking while that conversation was happening.
Mrs. Jameson?
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Whatever the implication was, which, can you tell us? I don't think you've actually said it.
Oh, the implication is that when Spider-Man got him fired from the Daily Prophet, or was it Bugle?
Bugle.
God.
I don't know where Prophet came from.
That's Harry Potter. Don't mind me.
Oh, yeah.
From the Daily Bugle.
Oh, that reminds me also of, all of us three have to go watch Crimes of Grindelwald.
No.
You're not gonna
I
watch
am
it?
watching that with my Harry Potter friends who will appreciate it.
Okay.
As in enable it and
Fair enough.
Not talk about it in any reasonable way.
I'll rewatch it with you guys at home.
Oh, okay.
But I need at least a week or two grace period to enjoy it. Get on Tumblr, blog about it, just buy some merch.
I mean, what if it's
live in my fantasy world in my head in its purity?
How can you still have confidence it's going to be a good movie given all this horrid press about it?
Well, I think that you will be happy to know that I took the test online and said I'm a Slytherin. So any opinion that I have, you can just blow it off as that fucking Slytherin piece of shit trying to ruin it for everything.
I need to show you a picture of it.
Now I'm very conflicted because I bought the Gryffindor hoodie or a beanie before I knew I was Slytherin. So I don't know what I'm gonna do now.
Is that contentious in the Harry Potter
Well, I'm Slytherin. Why would I buy fucking? Green is my favorite color.
Oh, okay. If a Harry Potter fan were to see you in that Gryffindor when they asked you what house are you and you said Slytherin while wearing that Gryffindor hat, would there be some conflict?
Well, it's like if I wore a UT shirt and I'm at a UT game. And they're like, hey, you go UT? It's like, no, I'm A&M. Like, what?
I am confused.
Oh, no, it's
also very generally more accepted to wear Gryffindor merch because that's all they sell. You can
that's true.
always find Gryffindor merch, and you can occasionally find Slytherin merch. But like,
Yeah, I went.
Katie has a pair of Gryffindor socks, and I was like, "You Gryffindor?" And she's like, "Hell no, I just like these socks." Like, it's just accepted to do stuff like
I
that.
have never seen any Ravenclaw shit just chilling in Hot Topic.
Nope.
I mean, I went.
And Hot Topic's the only place you can find it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's all we have to say about Venom.
Yeah, we're talking about Harry Potter.
That's what happens here on Shooting the Shit.
Harry Potter!
Harry Potter!
Infinitely better song.
He's gonna go get the. Gonna go play Quidditch!
He got the Horcrux! That's all I know. So, any other...
Gonna beat Voldemort! Potter!
So,
Gonna go get her!
any last minute comments before we say goodbye to the fine folk here?
Like...
This is a great spoon.
Yeah, I can't wait till the sequel when they bring. If there's another hero, like if Spider-Man does end up being in the next one, it has to be Venom and Spider-Man. Like Venom and Spider-Man.
All right, well, thank you for joining us. This has been Shooting the Shit. I am Swag Josh. We're still here with.
Yo, it's your mind blower Pena, and I'm thin.
And then we got.
I'm Kylie, and I'm scared to be here.
Okay. If you want to continue supporting us, if you enjoyed us talking about it, you can go to my YouTube channel, JV Radio Review, where we talk about music and hip hop in particular. Benny also has his own YouTube channel where he plans on uploading reviews and stuff.
I've got one next, and I uploaded an MMV. Oh, Star Wars Last Jedi. They got copyrighted immediately.
Yeah, I suspected.
Because
Like,
you will never see that ever.
and you can follow Kylie on Instagram if you so choose.
We also have a Patreon in the link.
We do not.
I'm Josh. I'm expecting you to put that Patreon link so people can.
I was gonna say, I didn't think y'all had a Patreon.
We do not have a Patreon.
There's never been a Patreon.
There's never been a Patreon. No. Now, I visited the Patreon website exactly once in my life.
I like how you just expect people to type in like Kylie to Instagram and find you.
I'm gonna put the link in the description.
No, it's just
It's gonna be right under the Patreon one.
They're gonna
Stop.
they're gonna be like, I found Kylie Jenner. This works.
Yes, we got Kylie Jenner on our Shooting the Shit podcast.
If you're gonna put anything, put my Tumblr.
Your Tumblr, but
yeah.
so you want would you like both?
I mean, am I allowed to be that spoiled?
Yeah.
No, thank you, my dearest.
So yeah, follow Kylie on her many social medias of Instagram and Tumblr.
Aw, you're so
And
lovely.
I have to delete that
Or
MMV.
don't, because I'm
So-
nothing but trash on there.
I have to delete that
Alright.
MMV just in case.
So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time
on Shooting the Shit.